Welcome to another exciting episode of Vastly Sage. My name is Amanda Dambuza. Today I talk to an amazing human being, a beautiful man, and a good friend of mine who's doing great things in his society. And we talk about what does it mean to be a man. He's a man's man, I can tell you that. And, I really just want to unlock in the time that we live in, what does it mean to be a man and how can we raise better boys? Muzi, Babum Tabela.
Manyambos.
How are you, my friend?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm really listen to your voice, and I'm just like, oh. I called you people's bae in front of your kids. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm
Yeah.
great.
Thank you for coming all the way from Durban to sit down with me.
All my pleasure. It's all my pleasure. I've been looking forward to this.
Yes.
Ever since we had this conversation, we say, "Come to my interview."
Yes.
I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" The Amanda Dambuza, who will turn you down.
I think I should meet this Amanda Dambuza. And I really appreciate it. I really do.
Thank
You
you.
do such amazing things.
Thank you.
I first want to know, where did it all start for you? What has your journey been like?
My journey begins a short way.
Hey.
It was the 2nd of April, 1977.
Angathi I was too manje.
A son was born to Usbongile Mzolo and Ubexisa Mtabela.
Yeah.
So I grew ngikhuliswa ugogo nomkhulu, and then my mother took over when I was 10.
Okay.
Esebuye varsity, and then I lived with my mother, and then I met my father at 12. And ngafunda. I've been a rolling stone, but by the grace of God, a rolling stone that has gathered moss.
Yes.
Because I attended more than 8 or 9 schools, because I was attending maybe standard 1 la.
Yeah.
Ngiyashowe ngentumeni ngiyofunda standard 2,
Yeah.
and then ngiyetshelihle ngiyofunda standard 3, and then ngiyemandeni, then ngiyekwanongoma.
Yeah.
So and then I went to a boarding schools.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I went to a varsity.
And that didn't unsettle you as a child?
I think what it did for me, when I look back, i-character yami ngilo muntu okwazi ukuyimela, and angithandi ukuncenga ngomuntu.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, ingenze ukuthi ngingathandi nokuncenga.
Yeah.
So for me, moving around and living with all my relatives,
Yes.
It shaped my character for the person I am today. I notice a lot ukuthi ngiwumuntu onga-attached. I don't get attached to people. I don't get attached to places, to a point ukuthi ngisho ngisajona. I never really attached to my girlfriend.
Lava.
Yeah, uma efuna ukuhamba kahambe, kind of thing. How awusangicinga ngithi ufuna ukuhamba hamba. So it got to a very a point where it was very bad.
Yeah.
ukuthi I was so detached from people, and I bengilo umuntu obethanda ukuyimela.
Yes.
And I began to understand myself,
Yeah.
and love my own company. So it was good and it was bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that because and by the way, I identify with that so well because I'm also fiercely independent.
Yeah.
But also similar upbringing where you didn't really have the roots, like those roots where that they are constant, and you have the constant messaging that we give our children, or the constant messaging that comes with being part of a nucleus family.
Yeah.
And the one thing I was always told when I was growing up was that I was cold, and that I didn't like, for me, if it ended, it ended.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Fine.
And that I acted like I don't need people.
Yeah.
How have you now in your adulthood? I mean, you're a father to beautiful children and girls, and how do you soften that? And I'm using soften because frankly, I don't think there's anything to soften. It's just that's how things were. You had to deal with that. But how are you as a father? What do you teach them?
My biggest influence in fatherhood was my grandfather.
Oh, yes.
Umzolo. Umkhulu wami was that man. I always call him the archetype of a great man.
Nice.
Because of how he treated my grandmother. He was one of those Zulu men.
Yes.
Staunchly Zulu. but who
No,
was very
I don't
loving and
think you are
gentle.
like him at all.
I'm a very gentle person. How?
Yeah, you can be staunch, Zulu, and gentle. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So he was a very gentle gentleman.
Yes.
Very loving.
But very traditional.
Very traditional
yeah.
as well. But he was that kind of a man.
Nice.
You know, so he would wake up in the morning and cook for us.
Yes.
You know, and would bake for us. By the time we go to school, he's baked a bread for us.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
So for me, I looked at how he treated my grandmother, and he always called ugogo mngami.
Yeah.
You know, and I see influence yake in me because that's what I call my wife. I call her mngami. You know. And why namawala when he bought groceries, he
Yes.
went overboard, you know. And my wife always says to me, "Guti, you always overdo things," you know. And I think he was a very good
A role model.
Role model for me in terms of fatherhood.
Yes.
And then I met my father when I was 12. He's an academic, very strict. He was a principal at the school. Under his leadership, an ordinary township school attained 100% pass.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
So that was the kind of a man he was. He is. He's a disciplinarian.
Yes.
So I think I learned that as well from him. Ukuthi mina kwelami ikhaya, because I always say, ukuthi, as people, we are always dealing with an issue from the past, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I always say, Uchi, the kind of a man I am today, I'm dealing with certain issues.
Yes.
I'm fixing something in my past for abantwana bami,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have my mother and my father under the same roof, I vowed, Uchi, mina, I'm going to have my own children, with one woman.
Yes.
I'm not going to have children all over the place.
Yes, yes.
Because I was fixing that.
Of course, yeah.
You know? So the kind of a man I am today is primarily because of the experiences I've been through.
Yeah.
I always say, things swing either way.
Yes.
But you are the one who has to make a decision.
You make that decision.
How things are going to move forward for you. Moving forward. If you went through a certain experience, you can decide to be a perpetrator.
Yes.
Or you can decide to you are going to change it for other people.
Yeah.
You don't want other people to experience what you experience.
Yes.
But then you also find people who say, just because I went through that, other people must go through it too.
Yeah, and Abazuba right, because Nam I turned out okay.
I turned out all right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I want to talk about this notion of I turned out okay.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of men don't publicly say, Ubayazine, guys, I've got things in my past that I'm struggling with that impacted me negatively.
Yeah.
And I am dealing with them. And I'm being conscious about how they show up or how they influence the person that I am. A lot of men don't do that because, we all know we come from, families and a society that says, you know, a man can be vulnerable. You name it. Those things do trip us up along the way. And what I appreciate about you is that you openly saying that I have those things and I want to change them for my children.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the boy child is getting left behind? Because there's so much that is happening around women empowerment, around girl power, and, you know, just equipping girls to be able to deal with what is often a harsh future.
Yeah.
What I don't see happen often are boys being taken through a similar journey around how do you let go of those notions that you were raised with.
Yeah.
That say, you know, a man is like this. And you are fortunate to even have had a role model like your grandfather who you could look up to and get all that positivity from. Many boy children don't even have that. So do you think the boy child is getting left behind, and what can we do about it?
The boy child is left behind. But the people to fix that are us men.
Yes.
We cannot blame women for the ills of a society. When women decide they are going to come up with initiatives like take a girl child to work.
Yes.
Help a girl child, Baba Baba, to help the boy child.
It's a good question.
Because we can say talk all we like. There are specific roles that are easier for women, and there are roles that are easier for men.
Yeah.
You know,
They come naturally.
that come naturally.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I hate gender wars that we have come to adopt. We are a society that has adopted gender wars. Men are trash.
Yeah, yeah.
Women are this and that. That doesn't build. So I think we need to come up with ways of fixing our boys and ways of fixing our men.
Yes.
Because there's a beautiful Zulu saying that says, "Inkunzi sematholeni." What will be a bull tomorrow is a calf today.
Yes, of course.
Unfortunately, I think the problem with us, particularly abantu abamnyama, is we do not have common purpose.
Yeah.
I always make an example of two nations,
Yeah.
Germany
Yeah.
and the Jews. Germany, after the Second World War, it was a dilapidated country.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
because they had a common purpose as a country, as a people, they overcame our challenges.
Yes.
Germany is one of the most economy yabo, it's one of the most
Progressive as well.
progressive ones.
Yeah, and strong. Yeah.
You look at the Jewish nation, almost 7 million Jews were killed.
Were slaughtered.
You know, so what made them thrive? Because Jews rule and reign wherever they go.
Yeah.
I believe it is because they had a common purpose. After the Holocaust, who are we? Where are we
Yes.
going?
How do we rebuild?
I don't see us coming up with platforms where we say, okay, we are hurt. This is where we are hurt.
Yes.
Ngilimele la, nasi isilonda.
Yes.
In order for this wound to heal,
Yes.
I need to dress it.
Yes.
But
yes.
before I dress it in a plaster, I need to remove
clean
mold,
it. Yeah.
clean it, you know,
Yes,
remove the
yes.
past.
Yes.
It's painful. That period is painful. I think we just jumped to celebrate it in South
Yeah,
Africans
yeah.
before we could heal our wounds, which is
Yeah.
why we have people dancing all over the country, but nobody is focusing
Yeah.
on the economy. So I think we need to sit down, ask ourselves very serious questions.
Yes.
Who are we?
Yeah.
What is the role of a man? What is a
What
man?
is a man?
What is a man?
Yeah.
What is a woman?
Yeah.
Should
yeah.
a woman try to be like a man?
Yes.
Should a man try to be like a woman? I know we are treading on territory that is very dangerous to tread on because you step on people's toes. But we do need to ask ourselves, yini umsebenzi wendoda?
Yeah.
Indoda ngempela iyini? Yini indoda eqotho?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then we need to pass on the baton to the younger
The
generation.
next one. What do you believe is the role of a man? So, indoda eqotho, what is it that, from your perspective?
Indoda is a leader. We are naturally leaders. We ought to lead.
Yes.
We ought. Indoda is a lover. Abantwana bami, they need to know love
Yes.
from me as their father.
Yes.
They need to know uthando lukababa.
Yeah.
You know, indoda is a protector. The abantwana bami, my wife, nabantwana bami, they need to know ukuthi mase ngikhulume nomuzi, it's going to be sorted.
Yes.
Abantwana bami, they need to know
be
ukuthi when they come to the father, when I tell uma ngitshela ubaba ngizomtshela ubaba wami. You know, I remember kids when we grew up, they would say ngizomtshela ubaba.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because they knew ukuthi mase ngitshela ubaba, I've spoken
That's
to the
my
ultimate.
protector. Yes.
You know? So unfortunately, because we have not really identified who we are, we end up transgressing the very same things that we should be protecting.
Of course. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So because we have forgotten who we are,
Yeah.
we can blame apartheid all we like. It contributed in so many ways. But I look at these two countries,
Yes.
or nations,
Who
the
had their
Jews,
own
and
challenges.
they had their own challenges, but they
Yeah.
ask themselves, who are we?
Yeah,
Where are
yeah,
we
yeah.
going?
But I think this
Let
is...
me take it back
yeah.
to your book.
Because I want to talk about this man as a leader. Yes.
Let me talk about a segment in your book where you say, I went through everything that I went through, but at some point, I had to make a conscious decision.
Yes.
Ukuthi, what does this experience mean for
For
me?
me, yes.
And moving forward, what am I taking forward
Correct.
to move me forward in life instead
Yes.
of always making this an
Yes,
excuse?
yes.
Because some excuses are very valid,
Of course.
but they are
Yeah.
excuses nonetheless.
This is true. Hey? So I want to talk about this, the point you first made, that a man is a leader.
Yeah.
And I think there was a traditional view of what a man is before, where we all knew men were the leaders. We are in a patriarchal society that says the man is the leader.
Yeah.
unfortunately, so many men have abused that position.
Yeah.
And all of the things you've said above, which were you're a protector, you want your children to know that they can depend on you and you're trustworthy and they'll feel that love. The problem is that many men have therefore violated that love, violated that trust.
Yeah.
And you said it, the same people who are supposed to be our protectors
Yeah.
are the ones who are also killing us, who are beating us up, who
Yeah.
are, minimizing us, which can be incredibly confusing for the girl child who
Yeah.
grows up to be a woman who was brought up by Umtabela, who's a strong man, a real man who protects his family.
Yeah.
And suddenly they meet other men in their lifetime, as they will, and this man is nothing like my father.
Yeah.
And this man might say the thing, but doesn't do like what my father would have done. And a lot of girls model themselves on their fathers, right? So do you think that, and you alluded to it a bit, and you said, apartheid had an impact on us, but at some point we are going to have to be the ones that say, actually, it's not apartheid that gets up and does these things, it's me. That choice that you spoke about, free will ultimately is what we need. So do you think we're going to get to a point where men, and I'm not talking young upcoming men, because in some shape or form they've got more knowledge in their hand, they've got more exposure, they probably, because of all of these movements around the world, like your Me Too movement and you name it, they probably are aware that there's a certain way you shouldn't be treating a woman, there's way you shouldn't be treating people, shouldn't be speaking to a woman like that, you shouldn't be touching them if they don't want you to touch them. Do you think that though we will get to a point where your generation and the previous generation can also sit as a collective and say, listen, we seriously have a problem? And you've said it, when you're hurt, you're hurt. You need to acknowledge that. Do you think we're going to get to that, or this is just a pipe dream?
We'll get to it if we intend it.
Yes.
Where
how do we enforce that intention?
You see, where purpose is not discovered, abuse is inevitable. We need to discover our purpose.
Yes.
And then once we have had those conversations, I like the idea of inganekwane, folklore, and how our elders used folklore to build and shape society.
Yes, yes.
Inganekwane, for example, long ago, they talked about nature conservation, if you think about it. It was folklore about animals talking to each other, how to treat nature. We need to be intentional about the stories we put out there. We need to be intentional about the stories we tell ourselves.
Yes.
We need to be intentional about the stories we tell our young people.
Yeah.
We cannot, for example, have a problem of violence and then be promoting stories that promote violence on TV. We cannot be seeing shows about people killing people and then expecting to see a peaceful society.
Yes, yes.
We cannot be promoting shows that, airing shows that promote, for example, sexual immorality.
Yes.
And then we expect sexual morality in the society.
Yes.
We see how easy it is, and we see there's pictures all over social media that incite sexual violence. So we need to be intentional about what we are putting out there.
Yes.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
I once put a picture.
Which one?
I took it off. I put a picture on Instagram one time. I unbuttoned 2 buttons. So my wife asks me, Mtabela, when you posted this, what was in your mind? What were you trying to accomplish?
Yes.
What do you want to see?
As wives can be such party poopers.
No, but that's why they are wives, because they've got our back.
Of course.
So I looked at the picture. I was like, let me just delete this.
When again, what were you trying to achieve? I'm curious.
I thought it was a nice picture.
Let's light up the screen a bit.
But from her perspective, then I realized that my intention may not have been pure and good.
Or the intention was fine, it's just the outcome wasn't what you intended.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think we need to, if we want to build a nation, then we need to send out pictures out there. We need to use Inganekwane, which are our movies and our series, more intentionally, instead of doing whatever we can.
Just entertainment
just so
for
we can
ratings.
Get ratings, yes.
I want to come back to your journey and how you became this revered, and you are an amazing actor, by the
Thank you
way.
very
Like
much. Thank
honestly, you are captivating in every role. You are so
you.
believable.
Thank
How did you get into acting?
I learned acting in the edit suite. I'm a qualified editor.
Really?
Yes, I worked on Zola 7 when Zola 7
Well,
started.
oh yes, yes.
That's where I started
Yes.
as an editor. I was an assistant editor, and then I became an editor. And then I started editing a drama.
Yes.
There was a show called Umzansi, and there was Zone 14,
Yes,
Jacob's
yes.
Cross.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I
I
edited
used to watch
all those
Jacob's
shows.
Cross.
It was
Yes.
that show was way ahead of its time.
It
Yeah.
was. It really was.
So in the edit suite, that's where you get to select the shots. That's where you get to see performance, and that's where you get to see what works and what doesn't
And
work.
translating the message.
Translating the message,
Yeah.
and that's where I would say the acting bug caught me.
Yeah.
But when I started acting, I was editing Zone 14, and there was a very small role, and Angus Gibson was like, no, come on. Music can do this role. You know, it's so small, you know. I was walking down with a girlfriend,
Yes.
and that was it. So afterwards, Desiree Machraf says to me, I love your presence on screen.
Yes.
You know, we should grow this character.
Yes.
And they decided in the following season that they were going to grow that character. So I had like 6-7 calls, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, you are magical on screen,
Yes.
you know." And Tabang Muleya was my first director.
Oh, wow.
And then he says to me, "Skim, if you really want to pursue this, I'm telling you, there's something.
This
there,
is it.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
And then after people saw me in that, it was a time when we started doing a Malokshin by Scope.
Yes.
You know? And they'd be like, I've written this story and I had you in mind for this character. Would you be interested? I'm like, okay, no, let me do it. You know. So I started growing and people started noticing me as an actor. And then there was this buyer.
Yes.
And the bomb called me back and said, no, we've got a very small role for you. Utuma was a very, very, very small character.
Yes.
When I started.
Yes.
I didn't even have dialogue.
Wow.
When it's
Wow, you
I
extra.
was just a bit more than an extra. I was a bodyguard, but I was
Yes.
meant to be this presence behind my boss.
Correct, yes.
And then Des is like, no man, your presence is being wasted if you don't say anything. Would you like to have dialogue? I'm like, Desiree, come on. Of course I'd love to have dialogue.
Yes.
They started writing dialogue for me, and then my character grew, and eventually I was the chief.
And you're making a living from it.
I'm making a living from it, and I don't even edit much anymore.
Yes.
Maybe every now and then I get an editing gig, and then I'll take it.
Okay.
But I'm living off acting more than editing.
Oh, wow. Listen, you're amazing at it. But I want to talk about the wonderful work that you do with your book club.
Yeah.
And before the book club, just tell me, you were at a school recently. These kids must go nuts when they see you. Like, they must just like go wild. I mean, you saw what my housekeeper looked like when she saw you. I was wondering, why is she suddenly so happy? I mean, I know Muzi, but Muzi is my friend, so I'm not. Do people react like that with you all the time?
Not all the time.
Because you've got presence. I think that's, and Desiree, all of those people, they saw that.
Yeah.
You've got presence. You walk into a room, you command the room
Thank
in a very positive manner.
Yeah.
So tell me about the children first at the school.
Yeah, no, but for the children, it's just an excitement of seeing someone from TV.
From TV, yes.
I think most of the time people don't know what to expect.
Yes.
When kuthiwa kunomuntu ozokhuluma nabantwana, you know, because we go there and say we are going to motivate, but sometimes when you lack content, you are just wasting
Exactly.
isikhathi sabantwana.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm very passionate about young people.
Yes.
Many of us, we've made a lot of mistakes, primarily because in Ingletu we either didn't have father figures,
Yes.
or we didn't have good
father
role
figures.
models,
Yeah.
you know, or maybe the father figure ekhaya is an uncle osdagelwayo,
Yeah,
azi
yeah.
ukuthi udumephi, you know.
Yes.
So many young people end up not dreaming
Yeah.
of becoming better people. They end up not dreaming of bigger things in life.
Yeah, because their reality is so constrained.
All they know
Yeah.
is this.
Yeah.
So I I felt a need for me to serve young people. I go to schools and I talk to them. I was very encouraged when I went to my mother's school.
Yeah.
And she told me, Guti, on Thursdays, assembly is conducted by students. And she says, 6 months later, 8 months later, they were still saying, Guti, remember Mr. Mtabela said?
Yes,
You know, so that
yes.
encouraged me, Guti. You know, sometimes we talk to young people and we think abezwa, but bayezwa. It's just that bafunda ngokubuka.
Yeah.
So if we are going to say, take responsibility for your lives, but then they see me with little girls,
Yeah.
emaklapi,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're like, no, this guy is
There's no
contradicting
alignment.
himself, you know?
And I guess it goes back to the point you made about men as leaders, because it's first of all, if you cannot lead yourself as a man, you
Yeah.
cannot lead anyone. You
Anyone.
cannot be a role model. You
Yes.
cannot be an example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me more about your book club.
When I was 18 years old, I was a typical young man. I didn't love reading.
Yes.
I just wanted to watch movies and
Yeah.
stuff. And then my father was a principal at a school where I was attending Ezwelbanzi in Laz. And he was leaving our school. They were organizing a farewell party for him.
Yeah.
And then he made a speech. My father is an orator. He's eloquent. You know,
I wonder where you got it from.
So
The apple didn't fall far from the tree.
so
Yes.
he made the speech about how to change your life.
Yes, yes.
And he quoted from a book called the Think Like a Winner.
Yeah.
The book is called Think Like a Winner by Dr. Walter Doyle Staples. And he quoted a section called the expectation theory, which talks about how you change your life. If you want to change your life, you need to change your thoughts.
Yes. Yes.
When you
yes.
change your thoughts, you change your beliefs.
Yes.
When you change your beliefs, you change your attitude.
Yeah.
When you change your attitude, you change your life.
Yes.
I was like, wow, that's an amazing thing to say. And I was like, masifike ekhaya, I'm like, hey, ngicela ungikhombise ukuthi le nto kade uyifunda uyithatha kuphi.
Yeah.
He showed me the book. I read that thing. I felt it was powerful. Then I started reading the book. I was like, wow, so there's actually a world of literature out there that teaches me how to think.
Yes.
Then I started falling in love with books. I started buying books. One of my favorite books was How to Win Friends and Influence People.
People, yes, yes.
And then girlfriend borrowed me the book. She borrowed me the book, and then I started.
Did you
buying
return
books.
it?
I did.
Okay,
I
good.
did.
Because books borrowed never come back.
It's a lesson I had to learn.
Yeah.
But I started buying books, and I
Yes.
was fascinated with the power of the mind. The first book I bought was The Power of the Subconscious Mind, Dr. Joseph Murphy.
Okay.
So, and then I started learning about the mind. I would, when I started working, I would go to Santon City,
Yes.
exclusive books, and buy. My favorite segment was psychology
Yes,
and self-help.
yes, yes.
So I started falling in love with those kind
Yes.
of books. The Greatest Salesman in the World by Okmandino.
But that is interesting because traditionally men don't like psychological or self-help books. It's like mumbo jumbo stuff.
Somebody called it sham, self-help and motivation.
Yes.
So whenever I spoke about these books, some people were like, but this is nonsense.
Yeah.
But then I saw transformation in myself.
Yes.
I was a typical young man. Besamba maklab, sidagwa, we smoked.
Wake wadagwa when?
I used to smoke weed. But then I noticed, Uti, for me to move forward in life, there are certain things that I need to do.
Yes.
And there are other things that I need to stop doing.
Yes.
And books helped me a lot as a young person. So when I grew up, I realized, Uti, I need to help young people who are in the same situation I was in as a young person, misdirected, misguided.
Yes.
But books helped me.
Yes.
There's a very beautiful story of somebody who says, I visited a certain professor and he left me in his library, in his study.
Yeah.
And then he went away and came back after an hour. And I was so mad when he came back. He was like, when he came back, he's like, are you okay? He's like, no, I'm not okay. I'm so angry. You've made me wait for an hour. What's wrong with you? It's like, what do you mean? I left you alone here. I mean, there's Nietzsche. here.
Yes.
There's Tolstoy over here.
Yes.
There are so many books over here. You're
There's
surrounded by so
knowledge,
many
there's
authors, and you're telling me
historians.
you are alone.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
coming back in a few minutes.
Yes.
He left and came back after an hour. But then he started falling in love with books. It's like, actually, there's a world of literature out there. So my philosophy is, if we help young people discover themselves early,
Yes.
we will have less people to feed.
Yeah.
In terms of all these cues that, it's so sad when you're looking at people falling in line for 350 rand. When those people were destined to do great things.
Great things,
with
right?
their own capacity.
But they didn't have the exposure.
They didn't have exposure and guidance.
And the choices and the guidance. And I think this is why, when I came to speak at your book club, and you're going to tell us about how you founded that just now, that's kind of what I felt you were doing with these children.
Yeah.
You are being the role model, the father figure, the uncle figure, the big brother figure that they never had.
Yeah.
And I think it's so admirable what you do. And I agreed to come and support it because of what you stand for and what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I imagine if more and more men were doing that, and because you also talk to them about, life, about the issues of life. So it's not just, okay, let's have an author reading and stuff.
Yeah.
They read these books and you teach them the discipline of going through a book and sharing about what they've learned.
Yeah.
And now I've just literally told your whole story about this book because I love it so much. So your love of book must have then led to this.
It did.
Separiman.
What we do in my book club is, my book is called Seraphim Book Club.
Yes.
What I do is we meet once every 2 months.
Yes.
I give them a book. They go and read this book, and by the grace of God, I do get authors to come and share their experiences about life. Because the kinds of books that I do are motivational books.
Yes.
Because I don't want them to just read novels and learn nothing from them. Read something and learn from it. And then when we meet in the next meeting, they get like 5 to 7 minutes time slot to share what they've learned from the book.
Yes.
And to share what they are and how they are going to apply what they've learned from the book.
Correct.
And how they intend to use that knowledge to empower themselves. So the purpose for my book club is threefold. Number one, the first purpose for my book club is to help young people to dream beyond their current reality.
Yes.
To inspire them to dream beyond current realities. Number two, to inspire young people to become voracious readers. I want young people to be fascinated, to be so preoccupied with reading. I want them, my in the taxi, they must have a book in hand. When you get inside the taxi, don't say, oh gosh, you're figuring
exactly.
But get angry when your stop is coming because the book is so fascinating.
Yes.
So it is to help young people become voracious readers.
Yes.
It is to inspire young people to dream beyond their current reality. And the third one, it is to help young people to start their own personal libraries.
Yes.
I tell them, don't give your books away. Do not give your book. You give someone your book and then they fold it when they read. Don't do that. The next thing was it's like, yo.
Because a lot of people don't have respect for books, right?
Unfortunately, but we are the ones that need to change that. I get so angry when we always complain about how things are, but we do nothing about it. Yes. You often hear people saying, "Yeah, mangamla wasncane, why kumele sincane?"
Who cares?
Yeah, why kumele basithande? Siyazithanda
yini?
Thina siyazithanda yini? Because unfortunately, when umuntu omnyama oyedwa succeeds, that's all that succeeds elokishini. But you look at the Indian population, they take care of each other. You look at the Jews. If I'm not mistaken, they have a law that says imali must circulate so many times amongst them before it iphuma. Thina ithi ngena imali on payday.
Say iphumile.
Uhola 10,000 rand but you go isicathulo sika 4,000 rand.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense.
Speaking of which, nice shoes. Eh?
Thank you. It's a bishop shoe.
I love your shots about this shoe. I don't think they could have picked a better ambassador for their brand, honestly.
Thank you very much.
Tell me more about them.
This shoe goes through a period, or it goes through 36 stages.
Yes.
36, 35 stages of being made. Somebody else makes the shoelace. Somebody
they're
else
handmade.
designs. Yes.
Wow.
Handmade, but some parts of it are also
Machine made, of course. Yes, yes.
But it goes through a process. Somebody designs the shoe, and then
Yes.
somebody puts the shoe together. Somebody outsources, goes to source iskumba.
Yes.
Everything is just they're
Meticulous.
meticulously made for a perfect gentleman.
Oh, I mean.
But you know, Amanda, I will say this. Much of what I would call my success is primarily because of books. Wisdom and knowledge
Yes.
from books.
Yes.
Discipline from books.
Yes.
And the application of that knowledge. Many doors begin to open when you
Absolutely.
apply yourself.
Yes, yes.
For example, I didn't have to go out and look for sponsors for this and that. Much, I'm sure you can testify. There are a lot of people that come and knock at your door
Yeah.
to come and offer you things.
Yes,
simply
yes.
because you put in the work.
Yes, absolutely.
Unfortunately, we have raised a generation of people that want to plant today and reap today.
Tomorrow.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't work
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah. They don't wanna
Life doesn't
wait.
work that way.
Yeah. And I wanted to just literally on that. Do you think that as a result of how some of us were brought up, that thing where you even said it earlier, that you don't want to transfer some of the things you suffered through to your children, do you think there's a risk in that we also overdo things and we overcompensate for some of the things we didn't have?
We do. We do overcompensate as parents. I always say, if I'm going to help someone, I do not want to take away their suffering.
Yes.
Don't take away everything from them. If umntwana uya esikoleni akanayicathulo, buy them shoes. But they must do the learning.
Yes, of
Buy
course.
them books.
Yeah.
But they must still
do the
walk the
reading.
distance.
Yeah.
I love what Morpheus says in that movie, The Matrix, when he
Yes.
talks to Neo. He says, I will show you the door, but you're going to have to go through it.
Absolutely.
Abantwana bethu, sometimes they become spoiled because they don't suffer enough. They don't struggle enough. Struggling is necessary. I always tell abantwana when I go and talk to them, hey, Colin,
Yes.
what you are going through, you need to go through it.
Yes.
I mean, even Jesus said to his disciples, Uguti, I go away and the ruler of this world is coming. And then he prayed to his father and he said, Father, I pray that you don't take them away or out of this world.
Yes.
So we need to go through tribulations.
Yes.
We need to go through challenges.
Yeah.
We have to, in order to become the
get
people
baked.
that we are shaped to be,
But
destined to be.
But of course, we don't want trauma.
Of
We
course
don't want
not.
trauma. We want hard lessons, yes.
Yes.
Because life will come with those anyway. Are you deeply spiritual?
Not as deep as I would love to be.
Why? What does that mean?
It means when we talk about spirituality, spirituality goes very deep.
Yes.
I am spiritual. I'm a born-again Christian.
Yes.
I love God. I do believe, Uguti, I can never call myself completely successful until I impact somebody else's life
Yes.
positively.
Yes.
So for me, that is where spirituality comes in. There are challenges in life that we cannot overcome simply by psychology.
Yes.
You know, there are challenges in life that we need God in. Unkulunkulu has to be central in our lives.
In everything we do, hey?
In everything we do.
Yeah.
Unkulunkulu has to be central in how you raise your kids.
Yes.
Unkulunkulu has to be central. Mawuqala ungena emotweni, you need to talk to God.
Yep.
You know? uNkulunkulu mayikubusisa ngemali.
Yes.
You can't just say uthenga ama private jet awu 16.
Yeah.
You need to ask God, good, why have you given me so much money? Yes, of course, kumele ngidle.
Give it tease.
Yeah. But at the same time.
Marijet you right.
Yeah, 1 year. But manje ase u16 ama-jet, you know, and maki ingane kamakhelwane, you have not influenced them.
Yes,
you know?
yes, yes.
And I would say I am spiritual.
Yes.
But like I said, indaba spirituality is very deep.
It's quite deep.
I
It's
would
multiple
love to
layers.
go deeper and deeper
Yeah.
and deeper until I am in absolute communion with God.
But I guess that's the journey. You know,
Yeah.
the spiritual journey is not a one that is overnight you are in it. You know, it's a continuous learning process. And I would say for me, it's a continuous process of just listening in and listening to God's voice. I don't always go immediately, and to be honest, I do my best to just listen and go with what I believe God wants me to do. Sometimes it takes longer than I would have liked or would have thought, because I'm busy with other things. God, you already spoke to me about that other thing. Now you are adding this other one. But I think spirituality is a journey that's not ever meant to end.
Because indlela uNkulunkulu ajule ngayo, when the angels say you are holy, you are holy, you are holy. Somebody said each time they say you are holy, they are seeing a new side to God that they haven't seen before. So they are not repeating. They are not our channels. When the angels say you are holy, because that's how God is deep. That's how deep He is. If our planet, Mam Dambuza, if our planet is like a drop in the ocean in the creation of God, can you imagine how awesome He is? So how dare would I think I have arrived? So I think the more God opens our eyes, is the humbler we should be. Because the more you know Him, is the more you realize how much you do not know Him.
Are you happy in your life?
I'm in a very good space.
Yes.
I haven't reached my sweet spot like Amanda Dambuza yet, but every video I see of you, you are dancing. You know,
I'm always dancing.
That's a very good space to be in.
Yes.
But I'm generally happy.
Yes.
I haven't accomplished everything I want in life. I don't have Amanda Dambuza's pocket.
Here it is. It's empty. You can see. But you're fulfilled.
I'm fulfilled.
Yes.
I'm content.
Yes.
I'm not living a life of quiet desperation. I'm in a very good space, emotionally, spiritually.
Yes.
Ekhaya khali.
Nkosikazi
khali. Abantwana khali.
Kumnandi.
Akusemnandi.
I love it. You mhlobam.
No, I'm in a very good space.
That's awesome.
Spiritually.
Yes.
Ngisenenkinga zami noNkulunkulu kusamele ngiyisorte out mina. Because the more you grow up and the more you grow in His presence, is the more you realize actually when I had that problem, it was never His problem. It was never His fault. When I thought He was ignoring me, it was never His fault. You know? So I'm in a very good space with Him. I'm growing. I should pray more than I'm praying. Sometimes yakhali alamalala umthabela.
Because umthabela is just human. Yes.
So but I do realize ukuthi with intimacy noNkulunkulu comes fulfillment and satisfaction. Unfortunately, when we grow up, we think imali is going to sort out all our problems. Many people who have a lot of the stuff, they realize when they acquire it, actually it is not everything. But again, most of us, we still want to experience imali so that we can say for ourselves. It's not everything.
Rather ukhale kwi-Ferrari than kwi-course.
Exactly. I
want to ask you something before we wrap up the chat. What are some of the things that you can maybe impart and just like practically some of the things that you do every day to just become that better man, a better man, a man that your daughters will continue to be proud to say, Baba Miloya. What are those things that you typically do? Because a lot of men, I think, also say, listen, I had trauma, but I don't know where to start. That attitude of, so what? So what do you do?
I got a voice note during the week from Ubaba Mdala ngisho kunami. He was saying, I saw your clip, what you were doing at Ikoleni, talking to kids. But I really wish you could do this, create a platform for us, Obaba, as well. Because Singobaba Bemizi, but we are broken. Singobaba Bemizi, but we are hurt. We are carrying a load that we don't even want to tell our wives. Because we can't share some things. I think this is a time where we need to be more sensitive to one another as men, sensitive to each other's needs, sensitive to each other's pain. One of the things I do, speaking of my daughters, I've tried to teach them the culture of reading. Every day, abantwana bami, they read a chapter of the book of Proverbs because there are 31 chapters in the book
Yes.
of Proverbs. So, and then during our family altar, I tell them, Uguti, read the whole chapter, but choose a verse that you are going to share
Yes.
when we pray.
Yes, yes.
And I've been amazed at how much they are growing in terms of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, in terms of seeking insight and discernment.
Yes.
So I find, Uguti, that helps a lot. The Word of God is very comforting. The Word of God, especially the book of Psalms.
Yes, yes.
When you're going through challenges,
Yeah. Gives you
the word-
something to hold on to.
Yeah. So I love reading iBhayibheli because it always brings my mind at peace, you know. And there's something called the secret place.
Yes.
If there's one thing in my life that I would say it calms me down even when I have challenges, it's the secret place. The time you spend in the presence of God. The time you spend mangabe, when you seek the face of God. That time you spend when you are alone. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
because we disappear.
Shaya matangs. Karabibe baba.
Yeah, because mangabuna bantu kulula ukucasha.
Yes, vele.
But when you are alone, when you make that vow, when you make that commitment to say, I will wake up at 5 every day and pray for 30
Have my
minutes.
quiet time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have my quiet time, read my scriptures, pray.
Yes.
You know, it's very difficult when you begin. But when you spend time in the secret place, I call it the secret kosomba.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. When you spend time in your secret place, you begin to feel it. Engathi lo 30 minutes mncane. You increase it. Before you know it, you are spending an hour. You're spending an hour and a half. Before you know it, you are chilling with your friends and you are missing the presence of God.
Yes.
Because in the secret place, that's where Nkulunkulu begins to show you things. He begins to tell you, Uti, actually, the group of people that you hang around with, I don't like them for you. You need to stay away from so and so.
Abagwaki.
Yeah, abagwaki. You need to pray for so and so. You begin to hear, Uti, actually, God has always been talking to me. I'm the one who has not been able to hear.
To listen.
So I think the secret place is one thing that I would impart and say, try God. Try the secret place. If you don't want to go to church, fine. But try this intimate relationship with God. That is one thing for me that I would say it shapes me.
Yes.
And I know when I haven't been spending time in the presence of God, I begin to have silly thoughts. I begin
Yes.
to want to watch more movies instead of praying, you know. And when you wake up at night, it's not time to rush to Facebook and say, hey,
No.
ngangilala ubuthongo.
I don't get that.
It's that's precious time.
Yes.
To be alone with God.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
to listen. Like I love what you said earlier on. You said, I listen to God a lot. You know, you need to listen because mawuphume endlini, you need to know where you're going
Yes.
and what you're going to do there.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want to spend the rest of your life
Just wondering.
doing the wrong
Yeah.
thing, only
Are
to
you-
find at the end of your life that you're actually pursuing the wrong thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Are you a strict father?
I think my wife is stricter than me when it comes to abantwana.
Is it?
I think I'm the one that spoils abantwana.
But then again, daddy and the girls.
Yeah, no, ngabulala umuntu for abantwana bami, you know. But I think I'm very strict.
Yes.
I'm very strict, and I'm trying now to show them because I've got a lot of books lately.
Yes,
So I'm
yes.
trying to teach them the culture of reading. Beyond the proverbs that you
Yeah.
read every day, start reading other books.
Yes,
Read
yes.
books on psychology. I
Yes.
just gave my firstborn In Power by John
Yeah.
Kehu.
Yes, yes.
So I said, start reading these books, you know. So my best school read books instead of reading a novel about Jack means Janine, Penny and Betty. Penny and Betty goes to town. So instead of that, if she reads a book about the power of imagination,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah,
if she
yeah.
reads the book about the power of affirmations.
Yes,
You know,
they can stretch them
yeah,
themselves. Yeah.
it begins to make them to think, oh, man, if this thing has worked for other people, it will
Yes.
surely work for me too.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I would say, Uti, for me, two things that are very important and that shape me, and the way I do things, the way I see life. I would say it's The Secret Place, and
Yes.
it's reading good books.
I like that. And do you do anything else that's like silly, like for fun?
For fun,
Because you're quite a present man. You're a serious man, but a lot of people, and this is one of the reasons that why I'm active on Instagram doing silly things,
Yeah.
because I want people to know that actually, yeah, when I'm in the boardroom, I am playing.
Yeah.
When I'm doing something, I'm doing something, and
Yeah.
I'm not playing.
Yeah.
But I'm actually fun too. You know, I dance, I chill, I enjoy a
Yeah.
good conversation with a friend. You know, is there a side to you? Maybe that shirt should have stayed up. That picture with the buttoned down shirt should have stayed up. Because I think that was you trying to say, guys, I also have another side.
Yeah.
But what do you do to unwind outside of The Secret Place? Is there something that you do with your family, with yourself?
Unkosikazi
Or by
wami,
yourself.
unkosikazi wami loves going out on trips, family
yes.
trips. So I think that's what I do for fun.
Yes.
But I have a very weird sense of humor. I love pranking people. I love laughing. I love teasing people.
Yes, yes.
So I laugh a lot.
Yes.
Sometimes when people see me laugh, they're like, how can you
Do I
laugh?
think?
Because I think they imagine ukuthi ngihleze ngiserious.
Yes, of course.
But but I love to be in a space that is full of love.
Yes,
I love
yes.
to I thrive in positive vibes.
Yes.
I don't like it when people fight, man. I don't like it
Yeah,
when people are
and
angry with each
negativity.
other,
Yeah.
and lona akasakhulumi nalona,
Yes.
awusakwazi ukuhamba nalona ngoba uxabene nalo.
Yes.
It's like, no, you know what, anger is just too much admin.
So where to from here? I mean, what's happening with your life? What's next? What are you excited about?
I'm excited about a project I'm doing, Amanda. That's where I grew up.
Yes.
I think going to KZN to work on Mbeu has been a very good thing for me in terms of being able to give to a community in Kamganyona.
Yes.
So we've got this project called Imandeni Pro Act, where we teach young people acting. And we teach them editing. I've been using my own equipment to teach them editing, but we are very limited in terms of equipment. And we teach them camera,
Yes.
we teach them, and now we've got a play that we are going to be doing in September.
nice.
The play is called Indonda Kusuka. It's a play about the war between amadodana ka King Bande, Mcetshwayo, and
Yes.
Mbuyazi,
Yes.
and how the name Mandeni came about. So we are telling that story.
Oh, that's
And,
wonderful.
yeah, so we've been trying to get funding from Maspala, the lottery and stuff like that, but you know that
That's a
period
process.
can be very tedious.
Yeah.
My politicians.
Sometimes I think they expect, or more often than not, they expect you to do more than Nugngeng. And that's what
Yeah.
makes things grind to a halt often.
It's like kanti sasingivotelelani,
You
you know, and mawucela imali, it's not like ngicela imali yokuyothenga ijeep.
Hey,
Ngicela nje ninginikeze nje 500,000
Yes.
or $1,000,000 ukuthi
To
ngiyothenga
uplift
ama-camera
the same community.
azo uplift ingane zenu,
Yes,
so that
yes.
they won't rob us tomorrow zisibambe inkunzi zisibulale.
Enjalo.
Because you know, one of the reasons I wanted to do something in Makaya is because I came to Johannesburg in 1999 to look for greener pastures. And then whenever I go back home, I would see these young, brilliant kids. But when I come back, say, drugs,
They're wasting away.
Kono say pregnant, say ningane ezo
Yeah.
3, say ningane ezo 4 at the age of 22. It's like, what can be done? And then you come up with these brilliant ideas, and they're like, oh, brilliant idea, but then they you know, they don't show up. you know?
Yeah.
So
But I've learned, and you do that very well as well, that independently of what the government can and can't do, we have to do
what you
something.
can.
Every little
Yeah.
bit counts.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of the work you're doing. You're
Thank
an
you.
amazing human being,
Thank you very
a great dad.
Thank you.
I mean, your daughters are beautiful, almost as tall as you.
Yes.
It's unreal,
Can you
hey?
believe this child is taller than you?
Yeah, like
Uyakudelela lo
I
mntwana.
was like, like 17 or 18. How old is she? 16?
No, she's 13.
Which one?
The first one.
No.
Yeah.
She's almost as tall as you.
She's slightly taller than her mother.
Oh,
And
but
bagqokelana iy'cathulo, and I said ukuthi yabona njengoba sengigqokelana iy'cathulo nengane yakho,
eh,
angifuni ukuzwa the day wena ungasafuni agqoke iy'cathulo zakho, don't tell me.
angingeni.
Because ugqoke iy'cathulo zakhe, ugqoke zakho.
Only 13.
Yeah, she's 13.
I thought she's 18. Even though 18, I thought, hey, wow, but
Like
you are
father, like
blessed.
daughter.
Proudly. You are very blessed with a wonderful life.
Yeah.
And I think because you're such a grounded human being, I've seen you in action wanting to help others.
Yeah.
And taking those young people along with us on the
Yeah.
journey is really what we need to do. It's just lend that helping hand, you
Yeah.
know, because
Yeah.
we cannot turn a blind eye and say it's not our problem.
Yeah.
Because it is our problem.
is.
You know,
It
and
is.
and you said it. I mean, if we're sitting at home in our homes and we are scared to even sleep at night because someone's going to break in,
Yeah.
that's our problem, because this is
somebody you
someone's.
could have helped.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're not going to solve the world's problems, yes, but we can do every little bit in whatever space and however we do it. I mean, I've been busy collecting books now to build a library at one of
I
the
saw
schools
that,
in
yeah.
Katlehong. And it's amazing that all I had to do is just use my profile
Yeah.
to say, please, if you have a book, ngicela ningidonate,
Yeah.
and that's it. Because these kids' lives will change from the moment they have their hands on that book.
There's a
And-
reason, Amanda, uNkulunkulu elevates certain people to certain positions.
Yes,
So that they serve his people.
absolutely.
I always say, Uguti, if I take advantage of the people uNkulunkulu angibeke kwi-platform yokuthi ngiba-influence positive, mina ngithathe advantage of them,
Yes,
one day I will have to answer to him.
absolutely. No, 100%.
One question that I fear the most, I think maybe that this is one thing that drives me.
Yes.
One question that I fear the most is, what did you do with the grace that I gave you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a good place to end this conversation, because no, but it's also something that I really think is a great moment to pause on, because everything that you do, just like everything I do, is about that legacy. It's
Yeah.
about when I'm gone,
Yeah.
what would I have left in people's hearts? How did I
Yes.
change their lives?
Yes.
For me, that's God having put me on this earth to do his work. You know, let's say not in the angelic form, no, but
Yeah.
in the soldier form,
Yeah.
you know, where you go, where God leads you. And I feel that you do that so well. So that question is something that you're trying to answer it every single day of your life
Yes.
through your own actions. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
really adore you. You're such a great human being.
Thank you, Amanda.
And a wonderful father, a great husband, it seems. I'm still going to have to ask her.
My doof doof.
Your doof doof. But I really appreciate your time and your insights. And I think that, you know, we need more and more men of stature to stand up and speak out and say, listen, guys, let's be conscious of what's sitting inside of us and how we are showing up, and deliberately adopt children to actually say, let me be that role model that you've never had. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate that.
Ngiyabonga, Manyambos.
Ungibiza nakamnandi. People's Day. That was another exciting episode of Vastly Sage, and I am just so moved by these kinds of conversations, and I absolutely love the work Muzi is doing in his community. And he doesn't sit back and say it's not my problem, because we all realize it is our problem, and we have to do every little bit that we can to change the society around us. So I hope you find your own why, your own reasons why you exist, and try and answer that. And every single day, do something kind for somebody else, especially a child, because we are building the future nations as we speak here. So thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time.